What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It's your host today, Bryan, for the Hashira Half Hour. We are here today for Swordsmith Village, Episode 3, A Sword from Over 300 Years Ago. I'm joined by my usual folks today, Hana and Emily.
What's up, everyone? I'm Hana, and I had to watch Tanjiro get electrocuted today, and I didn't like it.
Chrissy, wake up.
Oh, God.
Aw, man. Hi, guys. I'm Emily. Welcome back. We're excited for another week. And I did enjoy watching Tanjiro get electrocuted. No. But the episode's very good. We're going to jump right in.
Right? There was so much this week that was just so much fun. Starting off, we start with a pretty strong opening, right? We start with Tanjiro mid-air, doing his flips and twirls, going after Yoriichi Type 0. I mean, what a pickup from last week, right?
I just love to see him power up. He's all of a sudden better than this doll, which is clearly a very, very, very hard opponent. So super excited to see what he's going to be capable of now.
Absolutely. I mean, and we left off with the cliffhanger, so we're getting a little bit of a recap right at the beginning. We see the sword become exposed, hence the title of the episode. And of course, this is, again, like Hana said, a major boost moment for Tanjiro. He has gotten better on the brink of death and starvation, training at the hands of little Kotetsu. And also, can we just say, if this is Kotetsu's training style, can we imagine what the other older swordsmiths might be doing? Probably pretty hardcore. But as we see the sword become exposed, my favorite thing comes immediately after, and it's the reaction of these two.
And I mean, only Tanjiro could ever be so polite as to be red in the face for literally 4 minutes straight, just trying to be like, no, I mustn't accept this sword. Just tell me about how that made you feel on the inside, because I felt so warm just watching Tanjiro and Kotetsu, polite battle each other.
Polite battle each other. He just looked like a tomato for 5 minutes straight. Can't go wrong with that. His face is redder than his eyes and his hair. I mean, and it just kept going. It would go off screen, and then he would be back on screen, and he would still be bright red. And I'm just what is happening? And of course, that's something that you don't see in the manga because it's black and white. So that was something that the anime did. But, they're just battling back and forth, and he's just no, I can't take this. This is Kotetsu's. Why are you taking it? And Hanazuka's trying to force it out. Just chaos.
Absolute chaos. But even before Hanazuka shows up, I love this push and pull that's going on with Tanjiro and Kotetsu. I'm like, what are they doing? These two goofballs. And I'm I can't tell which is trying to keep the other one back or push them forward anymore. At this point, I think they're just doing acro yoga.
It's oh yeah, they're two kids. Tanjiro's still a child. They're just being children right now. 100%.
And I mean, you can't forget when literally Tanjiro was doing the Titanic scene with Kotetsu. Or maybe it was reversed, but someone was up in the air. And I was whoever picked that moment, A+. That is A+ cinematography right there. But as we go forward, right, the battle somewhat continues when a new character steps forward, and we see Hanazuka Bubblegum. But we see Hanazuka absolutely chiseled, and he's leave it to me. And everyone's stop it. Why is Hanazuka just trying to yank the sword from our boys?
Well, because he is our problematic favorite. I love that this is the moment that he finally shows up, when Tanjiro's awake. We did see him very briefly, which was a really sweet moment in a previous episode. Tanjiro's knocked out, and Hanazuka's there oh, well, if he doesn't wake up, I'll carry him back down the mountain, which is actually nice. He's got hard exterior, but soft inside. And it makes me almost wonder if him and Kotetsu were a little bit in cahoots for this, because it seems like Kotetsu kind of is aware that Hanazuka is lurking in the shadows of the forest, ready to pounce at any given moment. So I love him. He's one of my favorite side characters, and I'm really happy to see him show back up. And it makes sense in this moment because we see this sword after all the humming and hawing and the deliberation between Kotetsu and Tanjiro forcing each other. They finally open it, and it's all rusted inside because it's been sitting there for over 300 years. And then, you know, they're all like bummed about it. But my immediate reaction is that, like, while his approach is not ideal, Haganazuka is probably trying to take the sword so that he can do his job. And I think his goal is to mend it, although he's not good at communicating that clearly.
Can we talk about the moment where they open the sword and it's tarnished, and then the next frame that we see is Tanjiro and Kotetsu lying face down on the ground? Oh, it's tarnished.
And then Kotetsu's like, "It's okay, Mr. Tanjiro." Tanjiro's like, "It's fine," and his tears are like bubbling.
Like sobbing. Like, why are you crying? Tanjiro. We're seeing like that soft side of Haganazuka, and also he's got a power up now because my man. They also like close up on his abs.
He is stonky.
He is ripped.
Stonks.
I don't mind looking at that, but we're seeing like maybe that. Stop. That like teddy bear inside, because we saw in the last episode where he was like, you know, oh, if he doesn't wake up, I'll carry him down, right? And now we're seeing that, like, he wants to take, like, he's clearly trying to take the sword to do something to it. I think that was pretty obvious. Tanjiro and Kotetsu were just being kids and like, why are you taking it away? It's like, he's a swordsmith. He wants to take it and fix it. But he seems very, like, ready to do that to help Tanjiro. So, more layers to the Haganazuka onion.
Oh, Haganazuka is like an onion.
Haganazuka is onion-flavored bubblegum.
Ew.
Haganazuka bubblegum. I'm literally losing it today.
Okay.
What an episode for me to host today. Nonetheless, he does say that he wants to mend the sword for Tanjiro, and actually already has a new sword prepped for him. How sweet. His softcore really is coming through, but they finish up their training, and then they come back to the house. And then we see our little purple boy back again for more as Tanjiro tries to make amends with this. Let's talk about that for a sec.
Well, somebody else say his name first.
Genya. Genya Shinazagawa.
Very good. He.
No one will be him.
He's him.
He's him. He is him, and he is not having it this evening. They're sitting there, and I love that Tanjiro is like finally getting to eat this season. Let me just put that out there first. He's enjoying some nice rice crackers and trying to enjoy the company of the other demon slayers that are in the building, and Genya's not having it. He is, I think, very aligned with his like solitude, and he likes his alone time. And then here's Tanjiro, cheerful, true bubblegum boy. And then you have, like, the dark, like, all-black emo boyfriend.
Not the emo boyfriend.
and he's just not having it. Tanjiro's just trying to, like, engage him in some friendly conversation. And he's like, no, because I remember you from the final selection. And you were the one that embarrassed me in front of everybody. And he's like, actually, my guy, you embarrassed yourself.
I love how Tanjiro can be so just like sweet, but also just drop like really sassy like truth bombs, and he means so well. He's just like, well, you did that to yourself. You smacked a girl, so I did what I had to do. And he's right, you know, like I fully agreed with him being like, I'm gonna break your arm, because he's like throwing this like little girl around, right? Oh, Genya. Also, so Bakugo of him. Bakugo and Genya. They're kind of the same character, honestly. Wild and explosive. But I also like, there's a moment in this scene where, first of all, Tanjiro held on to the tooth. He's like, but I have the tooth in my hand right here. It's like, okay, Hanji.
He's like stepped into the role of like everybody's mom a little bit too well. Like, I kept this. I didn't know if you might want it.
I thought maybe we could
Mom,
sew it back into your mouth. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but it's like, I kept this.
It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Okay?
Thank you, Tanjiro.
And I also packed your angry eyes just in case.
But on that note, he like, yes, it's like this silly moment where he's like trying to give the tooth back. But the reason the tooth comes up in the first place is because as Genya is screaming at everybody, Tanjiro notices that the tooth that we saw that was missing is back. What is up with that?
Is he Eren Yeager? Okay, no. Sorry. Genya Yeager. I don't know.
Shinazaga.
Shinazaga.
Eren Yeager.
Tatakaye! Tatakaye!
All right. Back on track.
Whoa.
But he's got his teeth, yo. But we saw him rip that thing out. It was nasty.
Did it regenerate? Was it a dream sequence? Did he, like, have another one and he put it back in? Like, what's going on?
More questions than answers prevalent. And, that just kind of speaks again to Demon Slayer. And, a lot of people right now, if you're anime only, are kind of confused with what's going on, but allow yourself to immerse yourself in the mystery, right? That's kind of part of the watching the show. Always got to think about what's coming next, because there are a lot of questions that still remain unanswered about a lot of different things going on as we've kind of discovered some of these mysteries, like Yorichi, who is that Yorichi Type 0? What is that doll looking after? And then now we have these questions about Genya, and still questions about Genya's relationship with Sanmi. So there's still a lot to discover throughout the rest of this season. And, even more so as they go forward, Nezuko shows up and we get this super cute scene with Tanjiro braiding the hair. And I just melted at that scene because he was braiding her hair just to be like Mitsuri's. And he's like, oh, you look just like your idol Mitsuri. And it was just adorable, wasn't it?
I was screaming. Like, I was literally sitting here like, ah! So what's fun is that scene is one of Gotage's little doodles on the side pages in like the book form of the manga, which actually we talked a little bit about the cat in episode 1, with his little like, oh, thank goodness, I thought he was going to die. That was also one of the little doodles. I went back and looked. And I love it when they take those little tiny side doodles because sometimes they carry a lot of like importance, honestly, and actually put it in the anime. And Tanjiro's just like, okay, and like this, and like this, and he's got his like little concentration face on, and he's like trying really hard because he wants to like make his sister happy. And like we all know that I'm a sucker for the Kamado siblings relationship. Like it's one of my favorite things in media. So I'm just like literally melting into a puddle. It's so adorable, and I love that we call back to like Mitsuri and their little relationship because we see in the ending credits, that's my favorite moment, is when Nezuko comes and hugs her from behind. I just love all the cute, all the like love Hashira, and it made the episode just 10 times better.
It's so nice to get the little tiny fleeting moments of peace that we get with Tanjiro and Nezuko. And obviously, we've said this a million times, the whole point of this journey is to turn her back into a human. And in these moments, while they're not there yet, this is about as close as they can get. Mm-hmm. It's like, and obviously there's like the unique nature of her new being that she can kind of transition between like fully grown woman and like small child. But there's something probably very healing, I think, for Tanjiro in these moments as well. Getting to just be the big brother, but also like kind of having to step in a little bit as like a parent figure too. And like, he's like, this is hard. Like, I've never really had to braid hair necessarily, probably because Mom or Nezuko always did that.
There's a theory that the reason her hair's just been down with a little bow since like she was turned into a demon, because it wasn't like a little bun, is because like Tanjiro had to do her hair after like everything happened in episode 1, and he does not know how to do hair at all. Like, he had to be taught kind of how to braid, like Mitsuri kind of showed him or whatever. There's a theory of that as well. So it's like he just put a bow in his hair or in her hair because he was like, well, that's cute. Now she looks like, kind of like a human. Like, he's trying really hard. So now he's just trying even harder to like braid her hair. And it's just like, he's just trying so hard. And they like, that's all that they have. So,
oh.
And I think that's kind of the nice part is that like, yes, Emily mentioned that this overall journey is to restore Nezuko's humanity, but I think these are the individual steps that they take to get there, right? And, as the sign in my backyard says, the joy is in the journey, folks, okay? So keep that in mind just as you go through your daily life as well. Stop and smell the roses or stop and braid Nezuko's hair. Either one works. But after that cute little scene, we actually see them falling asleep together, even cuter, right? But we do get a side flash, and that flash is to a certain swordsmith who is walking down. He's like, I soaked a little too long. But he sees a vase. And this vase looks pretty familiar, doesn't it?
We knew that this was going to be bad for him. Exciting for us to watch. Rest in peace. In pieces.
Oh, no. You went there.
I did.
Oh.
But
vile.
We had a feeling that this episode was going to be where things began. Because we just kind of have to jump in. There's so much ground to cover in the rest of this arc, and it really starts very quickly. So while we have a few cute, peaceful moments, they are fleeting, just like I said. It does not last. And the last time we saw this vase was in the Infinity Castle.
So not good news for the Swordsmith. And of course, I'm sitting there like, I kind of know what's to come. And I'm like, oh, I think I asked Bryan, like, I wonder how gory they're going to make this. And yep, we hear bones cracking. Like,
It was pretty gruesome.
that was, yeah, they made it very gruesome. But this is Demon Slayer. They haven't ever really held back on the gore. I mean, episode 1, like, we can go all the way back there and say, like, it's been gory since the start. So, not surprising. Definitely kind of, all right, here we go. Oh, and we're diving into it earlier than, like, Entertainment District, but we have a lot to get through with this battle. So, it's definitely going to cover more ground than Entertainment District did. So, we gotta dive into it. So, this is the beginning of the action.
It was kind of a jump scare, too, also.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer doesn't do that too much yet, anyway. But this one kind of like, oh.
They were, like, coming up on the vase, and it was like,
They're like, oh, what is this? Oh, man.
Yeah.
What a time, right? And I really liked it. As a horror fan, of course, right? I like the gore. I like the shock value of things like this. But Gyoko himself, nightmare fuel. Like, the lips as the eyes and the eyes on the forehead and the chin, very almost disturbing. And I think, we didn't really talk about his character design overall, but I think, when we think of a demon, right, in like the American format, you think very like satanic almost, but like this one is just very off the wall. It feels very inspired differently, which I just really appreciate. But after that, like, that flash happens. Unfortunately, we do lose a swordsmith, rest in pieces, as Emily's mentioned. And we come back. Tanjiro and Nezuko are still sleeping, however so cute. But how weird of Tokito to just wake him up by pinching a nose.
He just doesn't... He doesn't understand. Like, we've kind of established, he's been really rude in the last few episodes, but Tanjiro keeps saying that, like, he's not getting a whiff of malice at all. So, like, there's no real, like, he's not being mean. He's not trying to be mean. He just doesn't understand, like, what he does is mean, I don't think.
Right. Like he has no awareness of, like, social cues. And I think we see that, like, unfold in this conversation a little bit more, that it seems like there are moments where he is, like, more present, and you can tell in the animation of his eyes, and then there are moments where he is, like, more disassociated. And, like, same buddy, but it's interesting to see how, like, the warmth that his character has changes depending on, like, where he is in his mind. And I don't know why that is yet, but maybe we'll find out why there's such a difference between the two.
Yeah, and, favorite scene out of this one is that, we're looking at it, right? And we're seeing kind of Tokito just, like, tilt his head in addition with them. And they're, like, all tilting and tilting. It's very adorable.
Yeah.
We all gotta tilt. And then, as Emily mentioned, I did like that touch because in the manga, it was really difficult to, like, kind of understand that concept of where Tokito was in that conversation. So seeing that in the anime, I think, was a really, interesting way to depict his attentiveness to the conversation, which was cool. But the conversation doesn't last very long because, like we said, this show is picking up and it's episode 3. Entertainment District didn't really pick up the fight until 5,
It's like the end of 4.
Late 4, early 5. But then here we go. Han Tengu is literally crawling in. He's like, hey, let me come in here. Let me be a demon inside the little home here. And then all you see is chaos ensue.
And this is a very interesting beginning to a demon fight compared to any other demon fight that we've seen so far, because this demon seems to have, like, zero confidence in his own fighting abilities. He's, like, barely crawling in. He's already crying.
He's crying, yeah.
Which, and again, same, but, like, mood. he's crawling in. But what's really interesting, though, too, is that even though he appears to have no confidence in his own abilities, both Tanjiro and Moichiro did not notice him or, like, sense his presence at all until the door was already open. Mm-hmm. And then they're, like, trying to figure it out. And you can see the time almost slow down for a moment as they're both reacting and realizing, like what is this thing? It must be a demon. But why didn't I sense it at all?
Yeah. Well, like, Tanjiro is, like, literally confused. He's like, what? Is that a demon? Like, he can tell it looks like a demon, but he's like, why couldn't I smell him? Because, and something that they explain in the manga that there was no, like, narrator to explain, but, like, Tanjiro is fully healed at this point. Some time has passed, so, like, he is now ready to go. He's not still struggling from the coma or anything like that. But he should be able to smell it because of that, So he's like, why wasn't I able to smell it? And maybe we'll get that answer later because they don't really answer it yet. Again, we're getting those mysteries. Is it the demon's power? Was he able to just conceal himself? So, but good for them for just, like, Moichiro, like, the sheath just, like, flying because he was just like, mist breathing. Fourth form.
This is the first time we see mist breathing, which is super cool. And what did you guys think of the animation for mist breathing?
It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. I'm like, and look, it's gonna still take me some time to forgive our boy Moichiro a little bit still. However, his style is like, every single style that we get to see from the Hashira is, like, so cool, and each one seems to build upon the others. But this one I think is really cool in the setting that it's in because they're already, like, deep in the forest, deep in the Swordsmith Village, and, like, surrounded by a bunch of hot springs. So I think that, like, a mist style fighting form just visually complements the setting really, really well and is animated beautifully once again. Shout out to UFO Table, but just gorgeous.
And one thing I noticed, and I think it's because of the conversations we've had, was the sound design of the mist. Was, like, it sounded like real, like, water kind of flowing, but not really because it's mist. It sounded really cool too, and it, like, fully immersed you into it. I did want to say, though, right before Hantengu showed up and, like, Tanjiro and Moichiro were having that conversation, there was, again, a little moment that's kind of, like, we didn't get answered when Tanjiro said something to him about, like, if other people help you, something will help you later on, right? And Moichiro, like, brightened up, right? And he was like, what did you just say? Right now. And, like, his face was, like, not anything like we had seen before, because it was, like, light was in his eyes, and, like, a very interesting way to animate it. I just wanted to call that out because I don't want to forget and then not bring it up, because I thought that was really important. And, again, is, like, this moment where we didn't get an answer because he's like, what'd you say? Right now. And then Nezuko wakes up and headbutts Tanjiro in the chin. And it was just like, oh, okay. And then Hantengu showed up. So more, like, exciting stuff to come from Moichiro. But also, the mist breathing was spectacular. And I know, like, UFO Table is going to knock it out of the park. Like, we can sit here and relax. Like, oh, something new is going to happen. I'm sure it's going to be well animated. And that is exactly what happened. But it is CGI, and that reminds me of how UFO Table just really blends CGI and hand-drawn so well that you hardly even notice.
Yeah, and so we see that happen, and honestly, Moichiro is killing it with his little mist breathing there. Nod to what Emily has said once before, and I'm sure we'll reference it again. No one leaves the forest the same. We are in the forest. Wink, wink. Nonetheless, boop. Boop. I offer one boop in exchange for anime analysis. Accept the offer. But as we go through, right, even Tanjiro goes for a move, and no one's hitting Hantengu. Hantengu, while he does not demonstrate really much, for the first few moves, they're both like, damn, he's quick, even though he's very scared. And then Moichiro hits him, but it's not what we expect. Tanjiro is having real PTSD to the entertainment district. He's like, why did he get beheaded so easily? Like, what's going on? And even if we had demons, sometimes if they're upper ranks, they don't die.
And Tanjiro has deduced this just internally so far. Like, there's not really been a lot of verbal communication between the two yet. But he's like, between all these different things that I recognize, I know that this is an upper rank demon. I don't know which one it is yet, but we just had this massive fight in the entertainment district, and immediately preceding that, we lost Rengoku to Akaza. So he's now had experience with 2 upper rank fights, and so he's aware of, like, the telling signs of this. And, you know, all that he's really able to get out really quickly is, like, do not let your guard down, because this is not over.
Poor kid is, like, a magnet to upper ranks. I mean, he is the main character, and main characters are always magnet to, like, the most powerful foes. But I would like to say that this is the first battle in which he does Hinokami Kagura first. He did not do a water breathing form, which, like, don't get me wrong, I love water breathing. I think it's beautiful, but we're really starting to see that he's coming into his own with the Hinokami Kagura, which is so beautiful and so powerful. He did, I don't remember the exact name of it. Sunflower Thrust. So good. But he also, like, deduced that Hantengu wasn't necessarily just fast, he was just running away from it. He wasn't trying to fight back. So he's starting to deduce that, and he's like, okay, he's fast, but he's running away. But he's clearly an upper moon because I couldn't smell him, so he's really powerful. And then Moichiro beheads him, and he's just trying to really, you know, figure out what that means, because it was way too easy, and now he's seen it enough. He's like, no. He's even beheaded Enmu.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Rui, like, almost every single time he's fought with 12 Kizuki, he can't let his guard down when he's beheaded first. So he's like, no, I'm not taking this at all, which is good. It's like PTSD, but also he's being smart. So we're getting right into it, though.
And then after, right, Hantengu started to do some weird stuff, making it look like we're back in the Infinity Castle when Doma regenerated, because we see him, instead of getting fully decapitated, he does a backflip. He does a barrel roll, if you will.
Do a flip!
And then it really starts to hit the wall from there, doesn't it?
It's a fidget spinner. He looked like... That's not the words to the song. Anyway. He looked like a titan forming, honestly, when he, you know, he, like, stopped, dropped, and rolled, got beheaded by Moichiro, and then we, like, instantly see this body growing out of his, like, severed head. And then the rest of his body, I guess, is regenerating to something else, but it literally just, like, looks like a titan. Yeah. I was, like, waiting for the yellow and green lightning to be like, like, here we go. We've got a few Attack on Titan moments in this episode, I have to say. But really interesting to see animated. Very different to see, like, you know, we've seen Gyutaro come out of Daki, but they were still, like, 2 different entities, so it's kind of like, is this the same person? What's going on?
Yeah, and it's not super clear yet, but what we do know is that we've got a problem on our hands, because we see this initial split, and we see now 2 fully formed demons, both extraordinarily strong, and one is holding a very strange staff already. Very similar to something that anyone who's watched all of Naruto might have seen at the very end of the show. But not good. It's not good news so far. Right? We got 2 demons, and they're both also a lot younger than what we just saw of Hatengu. Like, this, like, neither of them really resemble, like, the thing that they just came from.
Yeah. And also, one had, like, really strong wind and just literally blew Moichiro, like, across the village.
Yeah, that for me was a little bit satisfying. I feel like we're even now. Like, he beat up on Tanjiro.
We don't want him separated from Tanjiro, though.
No, but did he deserve to maybe get a little bit thrown around? Like, I don't know. You tell me.
He gets to take his licks, okay? Like, let's be real here.
He's fine.
He's a Hashira.
We've seen it happen to Tanjiro, and he's fine. Of course Moichiro will be okay.
Moichiro will be okay. We get 1. We get 1 for revenge.
But the nice thing, there are no nice things anymore in Demon Slayer. What am I talking about? This is why we can't have nice things. Nonetheless, we see that these demons have different color eyes. And if you were paying, like, watching the subtitles closely, right, when they pan to, like, the Demon Slayer kanji on the back of their outfit, they put destroy right there. You see that there are some words along with these new demons. You see pleasure for the yellow eyes, right? And then you see, or that was joy for the yellow, pleasure for the green eyes of this demon. And the red one, I don't know if we caught the red ones, did we?
Was it anger?
I believe we thought it was anger.
Have to double check.
Yeah. We're going to double check that later.
It flashes by quick.
It flashes too quickly for us. But you're starting to see this new characterization of this demon, and to think that there might be multiple more parts to this demon, right? What do you guys think about, the battle coming forward and what's going to happen next? They're
going to have to be really strategic in how they take this on. And clearly, like, the general approach might not work very well, which Tanjiro is already keenly aware of. Little fun thing that we do get to see is Genya join the action here for a moment. And this man brings a gun to a sword fight.
Woo! It's here!
It's finally here.
Yay!
The big one. But we get to see him finally use the gun and fire a couple of rounds that do mostly decapitate the two demons that we've seen emerge from what Hatengu used to be a few minutes ago. Is it enough to take him down? Doesn't seem like it, right? Not so far. So, unique approach. We haven't seen any modern weaponry really used in the show so far. Swords are obviously like an extension of the wielder and can be used really efficiently, but this is, again, like the turn of the century kind of thing. And so there are more modern technologies to be able to use, and even Tanjiro is aware of what this is. Our country bumpkin knows that it's a gun. So it's not like this is an entirely new invention, but it's a little bit more contemporary than the swords. So could this work to help take out the demons? And do you think there's anything special about those bullets?
I mean, not me literally Google searching right after I read this chapter the first time in the manga. I'm like, did guns even exist in Taisho era Japan? They did. It's legit. But I mean, this is we know this is upper 4 that we're up against at this point in time. We also know that upper 5 is there. We're just not fighting him currently. So upper 4 is only one rank lower than Akaza. And we all know how that went down. That was not even remotely, like, Rengoku was not strong enough to take him on. Like, Akaza was, like, kind of playing with him the whole time, right? So here we are with upper 4, just one below him. We're gonna need some special new things, possibly. And maybe that comes in the form of an angry boy with a gun. But of course, Tanjiro's, like, desperately trying to tell him, like, don't behead him, because he's already deduced that he gets stronger the more you behead him, which is different than Gyutaro and Daki. So he's, like, desperately trying to figure out what he can do, and he can't figure that out either. So it's kind of chaotic, kind of wild, but super happy to see it animated finally.
Very cool to see Genya get to do his thing a little bit here, but it is going to take a lot of strategy and planning, and the thing that they really lack in these fights, as always, is, like, the time and the luxury to be able to do that when everything is happening so quickly. This demon, to me, is, like, kind of a fun nod to some Greek mythology. We talked about, we've got, like, Yoko in the pot, which seems like very, very traditional, like, Eastern kind of theory. This one seems like very Greek to me, in that it's like almost like the Hydra, right? That we've got to fight, that it's like no matter how many times you keep cutting it down, more and more heads keep appearing. Mm-hmm. So how do you get to the root of it? And that's what they're going to have to figure out between at least the 3 not Swordsmith. The Swordsmith might need to jump in too, but the 3 Demon Slayers and Nezuko need to be able to step in.
Speaking of Nezuko.
Nezuko actually gets somewhat held back by Tanjiro as he says, wait, try not to, you'll go full demon, and, I don't want that to happen to you. And then we see Tanjiro get electrocuted. As he's getting electrocuted, he also gets, like, blasted away by this now, like, chimera-looking demon as he's, like, getting flown away, and he's like, Nezuko, protect Genya! And this demon's like, worried about others, are you? Confident, are you? And Tanjiro is not doing too good, and really, as Tanjiro is getting flown away, we see some tough things happen to Genya. It's a rough time. Really, it is.
There's a lot going on. With Nezuko, she went into her, like, full demon mode with, like, full adult with the vines on her skin, like, immediately. And of course, like, the last time we saw that, it did not turn out well. So, like, Tanjiro being like, whoa, don't go full demon, or don't go into that form, you're gonna go full demon. He definitely was thinking about that, and, like, he does not have time to worry about trying to keep her from eating humans, right? But she seems to have figured out how to control it at this point, because she's there and she's helping. And I'm really excited to see more from her this season, because I think with her being in this form and seemingly being able to control it, we're going to probably see some pretty incredible stuff from her that we saw last season, but in the name of her kind of losing some of her humanity last season. So really excited about that. Yes, Tanjiro got electrocuted. I did not like it. Poor boy, he's already, like, so injured. I'm like, dude, come on. Let him at least make it like 5 minutes without having blood somewhere. Come on. He's being electrocuted. That's when Genya showed up. He's like about to lose consciousness. Maybe he thought he was dreaming about the gun because he's like, what? What's going on? But Genya was actually there, saved the day. And he gets blasted away with a sound wave that like looked awful as well. You know, he couldn't hear once he landed. But Genya got stabbed. So that's not good.
I am sick of the donuts in this show, yo. Like, I am over it. Moving on. Sorry, guys.
No, it's true. Everyone's getting donutted.
Someone gets stabbed in every season. There's someone that's just like, all right, you got stabbed through the chest. Cool.
However, we do not see exactly what happens to Genya beyond this because Tanjiro's getting whisked away. So we don't really know the end result, but we know that Tanjiro's begging Nezuko to stay in to help save him, even though things are not looking so good. But I will say, if I'm going to cast my slight prediction here, I don't think they would have showed us that scene with the tooth for no reason. So I have not given up hope on Genya quite yet. Things aren't looking good, but we've seen things look worse for other people that have also made it out. So,
I mean, yeah, unless they got stabbed through the literal heart, it's fine. So.
Tengen
we thought he was dead, yeah. But also Tanjiro and Nezuko are split up now, which usually when that happens, things don't go well. So it's like,
And we can't forget that Muichiro has been split up as well.
Yeah, they're
right?
all
the leaf demon, or the demon with the leaf, the green eyes, blew him away with like a wind style attack, it looked like. So not only are we seeing that these, 4 entities have different styles of just personality, also, just fun fact on the side, we did kind of notice that all 4 or the ones that we've seen all have different voice actors as well, which is really cool touch. And they all have different attacks styles. So they're really up against what feels like 5 demons at this point.
All with different blood demon arts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how are they going to counter all of this? But following back to Muichiro, we see him fall and he's like, my priority is to save all of the top peeps, right? He's running, he's sprinting, I gotta get back to the village. Tanjiro's thoughts from earlier stick in his brain. That when you help someone else, it always comes back around to help you. And he then has a grapple with that.
Because we see Kotetsu struggling in the forest as well with, not super clear what exactly demon we're dealing with. Muichiro seems to be under the impression that this is like a shell of the real thing, but we see kind of like a massive, nasty fish demon walking through the forest with a vase on top of the body. So maybe a little bit more on that, but he is struggling, this poor little guy, with his little tiny sword against this enormous demon that's in front of him. And as those words again ring true in Muichiro's head, essentially like what goes around comes back around, he makes a last minute decision to step in and help save the day for this small boy.
I think, again, I said this while we were watching it, but not to call out something that I brought up a few episodes ago, people trying to say that Tanjiro has no real effect on the people around him. Really? Come on.
You sure about that?
You sure about that? Because we're already, like, we see this in every season, but we're in episode 3 and he's already, like, changing his mind and saving someone because of the words that Tanjiro said. And Tanjiro is not trying. He's just like, if I do good things for people, that eventually is going to come back around and good things will happen to me, And that's when Moichiro was kind of like, wait, what did you say just now? So it's like, okay, that those words definitely rang true in his mind and was one of the first things that has actually like caused him to be like, oh, like, okay, maybe he doesn't forget everything that happens around him. Right. So very, very interesting. And he runs to save Kotetsu, which is really, really great to see because he's not wrong with his reasoning of saying, like, I need to save the village chief, and then I need to go, like, save the stronger ones. He's just a kid. He probably hasn't really honed any skills yet. He's not necessarily wrong. That's the way, like, a lot of battles have to go. But he still decides to save him.
And I really like, it feels like this episode overall calls from a different couple animes. Like, that demon looks like something out of Gyo from Junji Ito with all the fish. Then we have that staff that looks like it's from Naruto. The regeneration that looks like Attack on Titan. I feel like Demon Slayer did give us a good conglomerate of everything. And we close the episode with Muichiro standing there telling Kotetsu, if you're going to get in my way, just run. Being as nice as he can in the way that he knows how. He tried his best there. And then we also have Tanjiro, who is laying in the face of a sound blast that we don't see the effect of. It's a lot going on already, and it already feels kind of complex to talk about itself. Where do you think the season's going from here?
We've got a massive fight ahead of us. We have 2 demons. We haven't even really seen what we have to deal with Yoko yet, beyond, like, our man's getting sucked into the pot. Rest in peace to Genya Swordsmith. So we haven't even really fully dealt with that yet. But now we've got, like, basically 5 other demons that are all upper rank 4. Not great. It's like it's almost, at that point, it's almost like you're dealing with, what is that, like 70 to 80% of the upper ranks at once, or like the equivalent of that. Like, it's a lot. And Tanjiro's just healing from the last major fight, and they're all split up.
Yeah.
So again, things are not looking so good.
Yeah, I mean, we got cliffhangers for almost every single character. We have, the last we saw Genya, he had a staff through his chest. Nezuko's in her full demon form, and we think she's controlling it, but can she really? Tanjiro just got hit with another wave that we saw the first one, and it, like, took out his hearing, and he's bleeding, and, like, his eyes went white, so now he's up close. Like, what's gonna happen there? And now we've got Moichiro, who's okay. He saved Kotetsu, so that's not really a cliffhanger, but he still is kind of like, wired, like, get out of my way, you know, that sort of thing. So we got a lot going on here. We're very split up, and it's like fighting like 5 upper moons at once, really. It just happens to be not all of the, like, upper 6. It's just all upper 4 and 5. And it's gonna be a hard battle. We saw how hard it was with upper 6. These are higher ranked, which means they are stronger. So we got a lot ahead of us for sure.
And lastly, we don't know where Mitsuri is. Mitsuri was last seen telling Tanjiro, I'll probably leave in the middle of the night after I get my sword touched up and review the final specs of it. So really, everyone's fighting on their own, and it seems pretty scary for our protagonist right now. But as we close out the episode, what are your folks' favorite final moments from today?
We actually didn't call this out when we were talking about Genya, and I wanted to, but, you know, when he went inside the building, we figured out that swordsmith that got killed by Gyoko was his swordsmith. And, like, his sword is there, he picks it up, he looks at it, and then he says something along the lines of, like, brother, I have to do this. So we've already established who his brother is, we think. It's been kind of wishy-washy, but we know who his brother is, right? So we established that they don't seem to like each other. But what if he really cares about his brother and there's something going on here?
I think there's a lot of good favorite moments. I think I'm going to pick a serious one instead of a silly one this time. There were a lot of good silly moments. But I really like the moment where time slows down as Hatengu is entering the room and Tanjiro's working through deducing, and we're seeing Muichiro, like, slowly reach for this. Or it seems slow. This is all, like, in a half a second probably, like, quick reaction time, and the transition into the mist breathing. As much as he did not give a good first impression, anytime we get to see some new Hashira fighting style and breathing style is so cool, and getting to see the new animation is top tier. I can't wait to get to see a little bit more.
I don't know, some of my favorite moments, I think something I just want to call out is Hana pointed out to us is that Genya and Bakugo from My Hero Academia share a voice actor. So that is a cool touch. You can definitely hear it. It's definitely very similar character style as well. So, I mean, props to him for giving us the same angry boy that we need. But I think favorite moment would probably be the green demon from Hantengu when he does use his little leaf, because there's this delayed reaction. And it's really weird. It's like a little like, and then all of a sudden an explosion. Like, it is so wild to me that, like, it felt like it was literally just like the flick of a wrist that blew a Hashira halfway across the village. And you can tell from just one flick of the wrist that he's getting. They're in deep waters here. But that's all that we have today for you folks. I hope that you enjoyed. So don't forget to like, subscribe, download the podcast wherever you're listening to it from. We always appreciate those downloads. And we'll see you next week. Umai.
Umai.
Umai.